Today is February 12th, 2015, and this is the third time that I've started this video clip because my computer keeps shutting down. And anyway, so as I say, I did not necessarily recognize who he was, or that he was basically a predator, until it was too late. And part of the reason for that is he had used a lot of government kinds of things that the government used with me when I was a kid as well. He made it look like he was innocent, and then when I'd had something to drink and I was making out with him a little bit, he kept saying things like, "No, no, I don't want to." But the way that he put it, he said it in the same way that these government people practiced with me, these government men, who basically would tell me as a kid repeatedly, "You better keep doing this," or whatever. If I say don't do this, or no, or whatever, he said they would tell me that I had to keep doing something, and if I didn't, then I'd get tortured. And I know that what he was doing was feeding into that, and he did some really strange things first. For example, which were like what the government people did that took me out on car rides, the men that took me out for being abused in a car. And sometimes what they would do is, before they would tell me, "No, don't do this anymore," or whatever, and then I was expected to do something, or they would torture me or threaten to kill me, they would sometimes open up their glove box over to, like, they'd be in the driver's seat, and then they would reach over and open up their glove box, or indicate that they were about to go over there and reach for the glove box, which is actually something that Robin Bechtel did too when I was in high school. When there was that one incident in the car in high school that I've already talked about. And typically what that indicated was that they had a gun in the glove box, because several times what they were doing is they would open up their glove box and scare me by showing me they'd taken out a gun from the glove box and then pointing it at me, if I didn't do what they wanted me to do, when they were acting like they didn't want me to do something. And so I know it sounds really messed up, but all of it was really messed up. And other weapons that they kept in the glove box included things like restraints for tying my hands, like handcuffs, and sometimes rope. They also kept things in the glove box sometimes that were to burn me, like a lighter, and then occasionally there was some other sort of device that was in a glove box that I was threatened with. And right off the top of my head, I don't remember what it was. It had something to do with some kind of electrical shock, I think, but I'm not quite sure, and I don't know how it would fit in the glove box, so I had to think about it. But and then knives, like pocket knives. So it was like the glove box became the symbol of their cupboard for weapons, and often they would have it appear that as though they had weapons on them. Other times it was things like the cigarette lighter, and they would take that off and burn me with it. But then other times, what they kept programming me to fear was they're reaching over for this glove box, and where they could take out any kind of weapon and harm me with it. So Brian Haynes, I do remember very distinctly that he did that same thing, and then he started saying things he was saying. So even though I didn't process in my own mind at the time, oh, this is what happened to me when I was a kid, subconsciously I remembered all of it, and I am very sure that that is why I ended up, why it happened that there was any kind of sexual contact at all, because that wasn't something that I just did, and it wasn't something I was comfortable with, and it had a lot more to do with lowering my defenses, and then using all these government triggers that were literally drilled into me like throughout my entire childhood. And as a young preteen. So he did the exact same things that Robin did, and I didn't mention that Robin also motioned towards the his glove box. Robin talked about the socks on the floor and that kind of thing, but he didn't. I don't remember mentioning that he had also done something with the glove box and kind of leaning that way at one point. And the other thing about Brian Haynes is that, from what I remember, I'm not like 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that he also had socks on the floor or floorboard of his car. And I'm not quite sure why I remember something like that. I'm not totally positive about that. I'm positive about the glove box thing and about what he was saying. And for some reason, I think that there was also something to do with socks on the ground. I do remember that that there was also something to do with a condom, or him talking about a condom as he reached for the glove box, which was also something that the government did with me. They one of their weapons, or things that I viewed as a weapon as a kid, was condoms, and they would keep the condoms in their glove box along with all their torture devices. So, you know, if Brian Haynes had been some totally random person, and a couple of things had just been coincidental, then, you know, of course, a couple of things were just coincidental. But that's not what the case was. The case was that he knew who I was, and he was pulling off a really good act. And then when I really knew that I was getting raped by him, and started feeling sick to my stomach over it, was he introduced me to his parents, and I was over at his house, and I was down in the basement where his room was, and I had a lot to drink. So at that point, I was definitely, and he hadn't had anything, and I started to sense, after I was already drunk, that that there was a hidden camera down there, and he did a whole bunch of things, and they were sexual, and did some really bizarre things, like wanted me to lay across a whole slab, a flat slab of a table in the middle of the room, like it was like an altar type of a shape thing, and up high. And that was something that I had seen government people and officials involved in, with like some other weird orgies that I witnessed as a kid. And he was imitating something like that, and it really kind of freaked me out, and I was